Hi, very good morning to you. It's Sunday. It's Jim from maverickstar Observatory. Welcome. Hi guys. Well, very surprisingly, the magnetic North Pole has stopped. We watched it move very, very slowly for 2 weeks, and then for the last 2 weeks hasn't progressed any further westerly. So at the moment, the distance since the last time we took a reading on the 17th of the 6th 2023, as you can see, is 1.3 miles. And again, you know, this happened only a few months ago. You can see the green pin marker there on the 3rd of the 2nd 2023, so about 4 months ago, sorry, five months ago, we had the same thing happen, where we saw the pole stop and then start to go back. I'm going to run the video. It'll probably be a little bit out of sync, but you can see why we're interested in at this point in time with the behaviour. Now, this is the second time this year it's done this, but let's look at it on the grand scheme of things. This is the second time the magnetic North Pole has come to a grinding halt in 120 years. And we are 12,000 years since the last magnetic pole excursion, which was a failed reversal, and we are 780,000 years returned back to this very point in time when the Earth completed a magnetic reversal. So, you know, for us here at the observatory, this is really exciting times. You know, we're seeing in 1 year more activity than we've seen in the 10 years that we've been researching the pole migration. And according to the data that has been collected until this point from various organisations, we're seeing the magnetic North Pole do something for the first time, or now at least the second time in this year, but the second time in 120 years of this pole migration. Again, if you look at the experiment that we rolled out, we knew 2.5 years ago that this could be likely, and what we're seeing is exactly what we predicted. You know, some strange behaviour taking place before possibly seeing that fast acceleration. You know, we are definitely at a point where something is taking place beneath our feet with that very thing that generates the dipoles on our planet, or the magnetic north and south poles, what our compasses point to. You know, we are at a crucial moment now, I believe, where we're going to start to see, you know, possibly in the not too distant future, a large acceleration. I think we're right with where we are, that, you know, we suspected that the poles would behave like the experiment showed us, that when we approached 40 degrees we would start to see, you know, that interchange between the strong field lines, which allowed the magnetic North Pole over the northern hemisphere to migrate very slowly, because it's in them strong field lines where it holds it almost in position, but something is fighting in the magneto that generates the poles. And still, even though it's in the strong field lines, it's allowing it to progress very slowly. We're coming up to that critical region where the field lines change. And I think now our experiment is probably proving right, because this is the second time now in a year, and we're at that point where we predicted this sort of behaviour would happen. So we could see, I'm not saying when, you know, it's just what we get off the data, off the SD cards from the TriMag system. We could see at some point, you know, this acceleration that we've been talking about, where we leave those strong field lines, which allows a slow migration, and we enter those weak field lines. Like this experiment shows, when we get into those weak field lines, things pick up much, much quicker. And that's where we are. So if you're following this on your own Google Maps and you want to know the longitude and latitude, I'll read them out for you. It's 81 degrees by 52 hours, 37 minutes, 97 seconds north, and the longitude is 114 degrees by 51 hours, 9 minutes and 57 seconds east. and our total distance over the last couple of weeks has been 1.3 miles. So half the distance it's done, and it's come to a grinding halt. Now, guys, things are starting to get real. I said earlier on in this year, when I announced that, there was an institute in California where a professor came out and said that the Earth's core was slowing down. Yeah, this is no small thing, guys. Our Earth is going through some very dramatic changes, and you aren't picking this up from the mainstream media. All those organisations out there, they know exactly what's happened over the last few weeks. Trust me, they're not in the dark on this. They will be watching this very closely, because this is probably going to be known as one of the main subjects in planetary mechanics in the future, and they're gonna probably design education around all this. That's what I'm predicting, because if you understand geomagnetics, you'll understand a lot about the other things that fall in suit, like what we've been studying here, with the correlation between temperature, more importantly those sub-zero temperatures around the highest magnetic intensities, both over the north and southern hemispheres of our Earth. And if our poles are moving and those regions of intensity are getting cooler, then we know what regulates the temperature on our planet very clearly. It's the magnetic intensity. Shouldn't come as a surprise that over the northern hemisphere, for the last 100,000 years, we have had over the largest intensity the coldest regions, or the Arctic circles as they're known. And this is going to be probably, like I say, studied in future university courses, because I think now that we are opening up ground-breaking new territory into the understanding of climate on our planet. And we're at the forefront of this here, I believe, at this observatory, especially with the resolution that we are recording this at. We record this for you guys at every 3-second intervals. So we have already recorded, by the length of this video, many new pole positions. That's how accurate we are recording this data for you with the Trimax system. We also record data from other locations regarding the intensity around the world, and we're also trying our best to monitor the muons, which are the byproduct of collisions in our upper atmosphere. When you start to think about exactly what we're doing, you realise that although we are a small observatory, we're packing a massive punch with the study of this anomaly that we're currently in. And I do believe that some of the other organisations are a little bit jealous and envious, especially now that we've got to this point where I think it's a slam dunk. I think we've proved our worth here, and there is some definitely taking place, and I don't believe it was by any coincidence that we chose this time, albeit just a little bit late, because we had that other anomaly back in February that took place where the poles went back a little bit. But even so, I believe we're on the ball, and it's no coincidence that we're seeing this. And it seems like the magnetics of our Earth are playing out as our experiment did. We predicted this a good 2.5 years in advance, almost to the month, and I believe we're slap bang on the money. It was around February that it was announced by that organisation in California, where that professor had came out and said, yes, we're seeing an anomaly take place in our core of the Earth, or the outer core, where the magneto generates the magnetosphere and the dipoles on our planet, and said that it's coming to a halt. It could stop, and it could also go into a reverse. That's exactly where we are right now. We know that though these two things are related, and it's by no coincidence that when in February we saw the poles, not only stop, they went into a reverse. We don't know what's going to happen at this point. They have certainly slowed down and come to a halt again, and the distance covered has almost been halved. We're at 1.3 miles over the last half month, and it has come to a grinding halt. So it's put us back on the edge of our chairs here at the observatory, because we're just wondering what's going to take place next. I will say that we've had a couple of technical issues with one of our muon detectors out there in Canada. Kendall has put it in the post. We haven't received it yet. I said that we'll put that down as a priority. We'll either repair it if we can, or we'll just send a complete new one out there to Kendall. He does an amazing job for us. He sends us the muon data very regularly, along with the magnetic data that he picks up with the magnetometer that we've got out there as well. That, as far as I know, is working well. I've got a bit of updates to do on the website, so I've got some information from Canada to put up there, and as soon as we get the muon detector in the post, we'll fix it or replace it, and we'll get it straight back out there as soon as we can. I am looking for new locations for both magnetometers and also muon detectors, and you know why that is, don't you guys? Because at this point in time, I think the more data we collect from various locations of interest around the world, so Canada we've got covered. It's a dream to get into Russia, but with the way things are at the moment, I'm sure you'll agree with me, it's going to be very difficult because of the skeptical the problem is that people will be worried about sending data back here to the UK regarding anything. I know it's all harmless, that what we do here, but people just don't want to cross the line and put themselves in harm's way of even being accused of some form of treason or other, even though this is all above board. It's science based. It's not nothing to do with top secrets of any sort. We would love to get a magnetometer and a muon detector out into Russia, because that is where the pole is heading. We would also like to know, which we could probably get some studies on, progressive temperature increases around Russia, because we know the pole's heading there. It isn't going to be long before it's noticeably going to start getting cooler, if not the records over the last 10 years or decade shows that already. So there you go. What else was I going to say? I think it's always polite to mention the people that support what we do here, and I can just imagine right now those people saying, oh, we're getting to that point where Gene's going to ask for a bit of support, we're done with the video, let's move on to something else. It's really annoying when people do that. Just look at where we are right now. Look at the rareness of this anomaly. Last 780,000 years, completed reversal, 12,000 years, excursion, both very big numbers. If you can't be bothered to support an observatory which is making such a huge effort to keep you in the know, and we are taking risks here, guys. We don't know at what level we're really pissing those people off by informing you about this, especially other things that are taking place. Just to mention two others alongside this, we've got the grand solar minimum, which is creating problems for our for our heliosphere, which is the mechanism which protects us from inbound cosmic rays out of our solar system. And then we have the returning back into a glacial period. And alongside that, we have a geomagnetic reversal. Mother Nature at this point in time, I think you'll agree, couldn't throw anything else at us. And that is just setting aside those things, and then when we talk about the political and geo arena of policies that are being forced upon us with this CO2 corruption, you know, it almost makes you feel like you don't have a leg to stand on, and it's just getting worse, isn't it? But you know, I have to say, you know, big huge thanks to those people. You know, it'd be great if we can see an improvement at this point in time, because look, we've proved our worth. You know, we can see things are changing as we predicted would do. There's no one else, as far as I'm aware, with an observatory dedicated to what we do. There certainly isn't anyone on YouTube in the same arena as us informing you of this information. And I think that warrants a little bit of support. And you can do it a couple of ways, guys. You know, there is a link down there where you can make a one-off pay, you know, contribution, or you can become one of our patrons. It's entirely up to you. And I say this is not mandatory, but you know, we're getting fewer numbers now at a critical point in time than we ever have done. It's really frustrating, because I know for people that are just, you know, have come here once, maybe they're not interested in chipping in a few bucks. But you know, for those people that regularly come here, you know, I'm just wondering at what point you're gonna say, yeah, you know, what you've done so far, Gene, and you know, those that are helping you, you know, now's the time. You know, I feel that, you know, I'll support you. That's what we want. You know, we do this twice a month now for you guys. So the links are down there, guys. It's Sunday afternoon by the time you probably see this. It might be your morning, your afternoon, or your evening, depending on where you are. You know, our polls currently have come to a grinding halt again for the second time this year, for the second time in 120 years. We hope, you know, that this might encourage a few more people to help and support what we're doing here. We'll see. We know that 7,000 people are going to watch this video over the next 24 hours. And the only thing to say at this point in this video is, guys, you have an amazing day. Look after your loved ones. And as always, bye for now.